Hi guys, my name is Christina and welcome to my channel. And on this channel we talk a lot about how to create comics, and I'm sharing everything I've learned after creating my own comic, The Book of Contradictions, for the past 6 years. But we'll also talk about art, how to create art, how to enjoy creating art, and all things related to this, how to get out of a slump, how to find inspiration, how to not to burn out. But we'll also talk about how to earn money with your art and how to do art professionally. If any of this is interesting to you, please feel free to engage with the buttons down below. It really helps the channel, and channel in turn I hope can help you. In this video I wanted to share with you 5 very powerful things that I learned about art after creating it for all my life and after being working in art industry. Basically those things that I learned about it and I want to share with you today. First thing is that there is a difference between good and successful, and those things don't always match. Yeah, this is something that I observed being in art as a career, and a lot of people who are successful are not necessarily good, and there's a lot of people who are good and not necessarily successful. To be successful is not enough to just create art, it's also important to present it right, and this is something that is not the best thing to learn, just because you would wish that if you're creating just good art it's enough, but unfortunately it's not. You have to learn how to present it to people, how to promote it, how to showcase it, how to post it, how to show it to as many people as possible. I believe that, personally that's what I believe, is that if you create good art and you put your soul into this and you feel like it is your purpose and you do it because you love it, you are very likely to become successful, because whoever comes across your work will feel it and they will enjoy it and they will stick around. However, if you're missing this part of where you're sharing your work, it will be hard for those people who you're creating for to find you and to enjoy what you're doing. So it's very important to put things out there, to put it out there in appropriate places, in appropriate times, and in appropriate way. So there is a lot of things around how you present yourself and how you present your art and how you gather people around your art. All those things are important and they contribute to success. Sometimes people who are successful, they just give people what they want in the moment. They know how to present themselves, they know how to present their art, they know exactly what to use their art for, what is the most trendy thing, what is things that people like the most, and unfortunately that's the thing. And if you want to win and if you want to be successful, you need to consider both creating good art and also showing this art the best way possible. That increases your chances for people to notice you, and ultimately people who are you creating for, you want them to notice you. So I would suggest keep it in mind. So this is something to consider, and this is something that unfortunately is true, but as long as you consider this other part of presenting your work, you're gonna be fine. You don't have to really PR your work a lot. It's really, you have to understand how to show your work to the right readers in the right time, in the right way. So just look around how other people are doing it, use platforms, share your art, show up, show it, and you're gonna be okay. But this is something that I think is good to know. Things are just not gonna happen because you're just a good artist. Point number 2 is that at some point it stopped becoming about better, it starts becoming about how and why. And I'm talking about development of your artistic skill. As you develop as artists, you become stronger at what you're doing, and especially at the moment when you're actually learning and progressing really fast with what you're learning, it's all about better, how I can become better, how I can draw this better, how I can do perspective better, anatomy better, colors better. It's all about better. Eventually you will go and get to the stage when you know a lot of things already, and it becomes not about better, it becomes about how I'm doing it, what I'm doing with it, why I'm doing it, what I want to do with this. You might notice it observing the progress of other artists. You can see, for example, they draw something, then they progress, and at some point they either plateau or they change style completely, or they start creating something different, or something happens. So it's rare that the person just keeps going and they just progress, because at some point there is no better. At some point it's just different. At some point you learned everything there is to learn, and then it's all becomes about what's your personal style is, what you want to do with your art, what you want to explore with it, what you want to tell with your art, what you want to do and why you want to do it and how you want to work. So that's something that I learned too. Eventually at some point I got to a certain point of developing my art. It was all about better, and every piece I was creating, it would be better and I would be working hard for it to be better. But eventually I learned things, all the grammar, all the things. Now I draw basically like whatever I want. However, to me it becomes what I want to do now. now? What I want to do with my art? Do I just like, when it becomes like not much better improvement that you can do? And I decided to go with a comic, and now I'm creating a comic, and I decided what I want to do with my art is to tell story. It was always the thing that I liked when creating standalone pieces. I always wanted them to tell some sort of a story, and eventually I realized that with a comic this is something that I can achieve, to make my art tell the story in the most efficient way, like legit story that lasts and has characters and has progression and whatnot. So this is something that I learned, and I didn't expect it myself as I was going towards better, and eventually I realized at some point there's no better for nobody, for no artist. Another thing that I learned is that the real thing that limits you is not your skill, not your talent, is your dedication. I saw talented people fail because they drop things. I saw people who have great skill achieve nothing because they just didn't stick with something for a long time. And I saw people who I would consider not super skilled or super talented at that level go forward and achieve great things just because they never stopped. They've been dedicating that time, they've been working hard, and they were putting work and not stopping. And this is something I think that is pretty interesting, because you can notice the way our world shaped today, like things that are a big part of the way, you know, society is structured right now. So for example, you have certain type of cars, you have, for example, coffee culture with all the Starbucks, you have this Apple iPhone. And if you think about it, you can think, oh, those things that became such an integral part of our life are just the better ideas, the ideas that everybody liked the most, and that stayed. But this is not true. If you think about the most successful inventors and the most successful people who created something, it's usually because they never give up, they cared about what they're doing, they continued, and whatever problem and trouble came in front of them, they kept going. No matter how much they failed, they kept going. And actually, I think our world is built by the ideas that were carried by the most dedicated people. And that's, I feel like, something that is good to know, because you never have a disadvantage. And I also talk about the fact that talent doesn't exist. I'm gonna link this video over there. It's not about your talent at all, but overall it's just about your commitment to what you're doing in art as well, and in everything. And just the same as art, if you don't give up, you just win. Eventually you will. And this is something very comforting for me to know. And this is, just look around you, you're surrounded by ideas carried by people who are dedicated as hell. So that's another thing I learned, so don't give up. Another point is that the most important teacher in your life is you. Nobody gonna teach you as much as you're gonna teach yourself. And no matter how many teachers you have, in the end it's your responsibility to get part of you that teaches you educated. To get part of you should always look for better example, part of you should always strive to learn something, part of you should always want to test something. You will be by your side all the time, and only you know what you want to learn, only you know what is the next step for you, only you know how to sort through the knowledge. Self-learning is key. Always self-learn. Learn and know how to self-learn, how to improve, because this is the only way you can truly improve. Because you can have one teacher on one point and then another teacher on another point, and if you just stop on those teachers, you totally limiting yourself. You will not achieve a lot of things. Don't do it to yourself. You are your own teacher. You learn how, like, as another teacher is teaching you, and you learn how to get knowledge from this teacher. Then you can just look at just a piece of art and start learning from this piece of art. You can look how other artists work and start learning from there. Learn how to self-learn, and there will be no limit to what you can do. And to help you, I have a video talking about how to learn from other artists, and also to help you, I have videos coming out every Monday about just showing you how I'm drawing my comic, what I'm doing the weekend, talking about it. Just see what I'm doing, maybe it can help you. The last thing that I learned is that art is powerful. It's extremely powerful. It can carry wisdom, it can carry emotions, it can help somebody go through difficult times, it can uplift someone, inspire them. It is powerful. So you have to be responsible. If you're working on something and you have certain theme that you're working through, work to the most honest part. Work hard and tell everything that you want to tell. Don't hold back. Work through your characters. Draw this image as best as you can. If you have some idea to tell with your art, do it, and do it to the best of your ability. Because you never know who is reading your story, reading your comic, watching your art. You never know what this thing can do for people. people. It can really change their life. It can inspire them. It can inspire them to draw. It can inspire them to create art themselves. It can inspire them to change their life. Art is extremely powerful. It always was meant to carry wisdom of generations throughout. Use your art with great responsibility because it is very powerful. It can do a lot, and don't half-ass it. Yeah, so that's the last thing I learned, and this is something that I keep in mind all the time. That's it for this video. I hope those things were helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you so much, guys.